Hello viewers out there. Good evening world. You are watching from. You are keyed in to the right track. You are on with Chris Osa meeting with personalities. Today we have in our midst a special guest, a pastor, come a politician, and there is one time SSG to the Edo State government. He's been in the affairs and he has attracted one or two things to Edo State of today. He is not that person other than Pastor Osage Ize-Iyamu. Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Good to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, we are here today because Edo people wants to see you on air. People, Nigerians, in fact, the world as well, they want to see you on air. They want to know some things about you as it concerns the politics of Edo State. That is why I am here today. Sir, you know, we heard of some things. We saw some things in the course of you coming to the APC again. You know, so a lot of people would like to know, among all these fracas that happened while we were coming, sir, what are your experience so far in the APC?
Well, thank you very much. Coming back to the APC is actually a homecoming, and overwhelmingly from across the country and even across the states, a lot of APC members have been very warm, very receptive, very excited. I get calls almost every hour. Ordinary members, ESCO members, welcoming me back to a party that we helped to form. The small fracas you mentioned was engineered by a very insignificant but visible group. But their activity, of course, do not reflect the view of majority of members. And of course, you know that any well-thinking party member would welcome more people coming to their fold, especially those who were there with them before. So it's been homecoming, and some of the things that played out, even though regrettable, but in politics some of these things are not unexpected, and I just took it in my stride. What is important is that I'm focused. I want to add value to the party. I want to help the party to become stronger, and we are doing just that. And I want to thank all those who have welcomed me at the world level, at the local government level, at the state level. And of course, I cannot fail to thank the national chairman, Comrade Adams Oshomole, who has been in the forefront of ensuring that new members are welcomed and going out of his way to even receive them and welcome them back to the party. I think that is how it should be, and I thank him profusely.
All right, thank you, sir. Talking about you coming to APC, you said it's been your house, you're a founding member of the APC, you know, so it's homecoming again. Talking about it, sir, according to some who've had some persons insinuating that your stay in APC will be short, that the moment you don't get the APC tickets, that you are likely to quit the party again. So I know this question is kind of skeptical, and I needed to bring to you, sir.
Thank you. Well, the truth is that so that could not have been the issue. We had disagreements about the way the congresses were being conducted all over the state, and some of us felt that they were not doing the right thing, and there was a lot of agitation, a lot of anger, And we had a couple of meetings, and majority of those who we worked together were of the view that we should leave. So I left APC then, not because I wanted governorship and I did not get it, because governorship had not even come. I left APC then in 2014, and the governorship primaries was done in 2016. So that was 2 years after. And then of course, I came to PDP. You also recall that I got the ticket. So in all fairness, one cannot say that I left the PDP because I'm not getting the ticket. So the point I'm trying to make is that, yes, I've had to make adjustments where I believe that things are not being done properly. But a lot of times I've also been guided by those I lead and those who believe in me. I don't believe in politics you just take arbitrary decisions. So I have a constituency, I have my people, and a lot of times I try to listen. For the present situation in the APC, I came to the party with an open mind, and that's why I found the hostility that was shown by some few people as regrettable, because if they had known that in coming to the party there were so many options in our mind, and one of the options was that we are going to support a gubernatorial candidate that will be chosen by the party. Of course, you just can't be coming to a party and expect that 100% you will get the ticket, And for those who have always insinuated that perhaps we were drafted in to come and take the ticket, that's not true. That's not true. Before I came in, there were a lot of very qualified Edo men and women who had shown interest. So the party is not lacking at all in quality aspirants for the position of governor. But I came in because I believe that APC today in Edo State represents the best platform through which we can represent our people and pursue and actualize their interests. And that's why we came. And you can see that many of us aspirants have chosen to interact and work together. Myself, General Adiawe, Engineer Chris Okemoyi, Dr. Paul Sudubu, Honorable Saude, Wulekwe, Professor Amadasun, are people who have expressed here and there. I think, of course, Chief Solomon Edebiri, people who have expressed here and there their interest in governorship. But that has not stopped us from interacting, from sitting together, and we've all resolved that somebody will get it, and whoever gets it, all of us will support the person. All of us will support him, and that is how it's supposed to be. But of course, there's the other side who believes that governorship should be non-negotiable. Governorship should be left for only one person. But that's not democracy. That's not how it is done. And their own method is that it's either you support that agenda or you are crushed. But I know people have never been cowards, and we are not cowards. We believe in engagement, we believe in dialogue, but for many of us, we are ready to concede to the party position. Whoever the party wants, fine. And if by the grace of God, it happens that the party also chooses us, we also expect the same level of grace from them, whereby they too will concede. I don't see any reason for any agitation if we understand how democracy works. We must go through primaries. Somebody eventually will get elected. And we expect every genuine party man and woman to support the person. I have no intention of leaving the party simply because the party have chosen somebody and I'm not the person. That would be very wrong. That would be ridiculous. And I'm not going to allow that kind of stigma, to be put on me.
So does it mean that if peradventure today the governorship aspirants in APC come together today to say, okay, we have met, we are the ones contesting, and then we have decided, okay, this so person might not be you, and say this person we have decided, in consensus. How would you take that, sir?
No, I'm a team player. And I think if we can get to the level where we can actually engage ourselves, interface, and come up with a consensus, it saves a lot of money, a lot of stress, a lot of bitterness, a lot of rivalry, That will be fine.
It doesn't mean you support consensus.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, of course, there's nothing wrong with it. But the consensus some people are advocating, which is that one that is founded on force and imposition, of course, nobody will support that. But the genuine consensus based on dialogue, based on mutual respect, based on persuasion, yes, that is feasible, and that will be supported. In fact, the dialogue, four of us are already doing, is working towards a consensus candidate. Why do four of us have to go and buy form when we know that eventually one person will come? So if we are able to, talk among ourselves and narrow down to one or two persons, the rest are sure that, the other day, we must let him know. The past 1.5 years, the governor has abandoned governance. All the utterances we hear from him, they are very inciting, very provocative, and not the kind of statement a chief executive or a statesman should be making. I've heard him say, I will deal with him, I will crush him, we will deal with them, we will direct our boys. Such statements are deplorable. And when you also realize who is talking about most of the time, it's worrisome. You are talking about somebody who was the immediate past governor of the state, somebody who more or less did everything to get you elected, and more importantly, somebody who is the national chairman of a party you belong to. For crying out loud, you must respect your chairman. That goes without saying. Whoever is your party chairman is first among equals. You owe him that respect. For some of us who have been playing politics for a long time, when the chairman comes in, even a local government chairman or a state chairman, we stand up. It shows respect. It shows that we respect the party. So when you hear a governor become so begin to get so aggressive and begin to use the kind of words that you hear on the street, it's alarming. And the level they have gotten to now is very disturbing. When office, and I was shocked to actually see the bullet holes all over his office. And it was clear to me that it was just by the grace of God that nobody died. Those who have not seen it can say, oh, it's not true or it's nothing, but I saw it for myself. I went to the office and it was clear to me that it's just God, because anybody could have been in the office and they would have been killed. Those who were firing from the streets could not have said we're not firing to kill, because some of those bullets fell inside the office. In fact, a young man that one of the bullets grazed his skull, came to us and we saw him. So it's just by the grace of God that nobody was killed. And the question is, if somebody had been killed, how do you explain such a thing? And government did nothing to even condemn the attack. Henry Dagbo was the immediate past Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice, one of those who also campaigned all over the state for the governor. Even if it was a nobody, government at least should talk about it, because the security of the state is paramount. But he's not just a nobody, he's a very important person in this state, and he was almost killed. And then, of course, Inegbeneki was coordinating a rally in Edo Central, and some people in a very cowardly but wicked manner went to his house and threw bombs into the compound. Again, I went there deliberately to go and see for myself, because as a lawyer, I'm very skeptical about things I hear without verifying. So just like I went to check Henry Dagbo's, when I also heard this one, I said, no, a bomb, let me go and check. And I went there, and the one that didn't explode, I saw it. And of course, the one that did the damage, I saw it. Outside the house, I saw the windscreen of the cars that were parked shattered. I saw glass broken. I saw the damage. And again, I told people, it was just the grace of God that nobody died. Because those who threw those bombs from outside the compound could not have said they did not mean to kill. There was no way they would have known whether anybody was inside the house. Yes, Beneke might not be around, it might be in Ishan, but he has people in the house. So is the gate just luck or God? Not or God. It was God that just averted what would have been a very fatal situation. If somebody had died, what would we have said? That, oh, because some people are insisting on second term, so they killed somebody. You know, immunity, you know, does not last forever. And immunity cannot be a license for murder.